Hello and welcome back to Daily Drives. Today we have the 2020 all-new Ford Explorer, and we're going to go on a slight expedition on the history of this car and then continue to explore the exterior and interior and finally go on a wild excursion and take it on the road.
Somewhere unseen, it got a little longer, so it seems. I burned out, so to speak. Now come a little closer.
So the original Explorer debuted in 1990 and immediately was a hit. Ford was doing well with the Taurus then, but they really wanted to get into the SUV market that Jeep and Chevy were already in with the C10 Blazer and the Cherokee. So when this car debuted, it wasn't only loved because it had 4 doors and a ton of space, but it also came out rear-wheel drive from the factory with optional 4-wheel drive, which was loved by enthusiasts as well as families.
Have you driven a Ford lately?
The original Explorer was so successful that it outsold its American counterparts as well as completely outsold every single imported SUV combined. And it was liked so much that they put it in a Jurassic Park movie where the T-Rex found it really scrumptious. The second generation sold like hotcakes, just like the first one, with one big difference. Celine, if you've heard of them, made a performance version of the Explorer, putting in nicer wheels and turning and tuning it, and probably making the first performance SUV with a capital S. But inevitably, there was one issue that they kind of overlooked because the car was rushed into production. The first couple of generations suffered from rolling over, and it was really bad. A lot of deaths, a lot of people went through lawsuits, and Ford was struggling, and they finally blamed Firestone, the tire producer, for every single incident, which you could debate was not really the case. I mean, in the end, they pretty much never worked again with each other. So fast forwarding to 2020, we now have the 6th generation Explorer. And compared to its predecessor, the 5th generation that came out in 2012, kind of looks the same, just a little bit updated, but the platform is completely new. It's also much bigger inside, as well lighter and more fun to drive because it's rear-wheel drive, unlike the 5th generation that was front-wheel drive. Oh, and one more thing, meet the new police Interceptor. It's not the XLT 2.3-liter version we have right here. It's a 3-liter V6 that is actually faster than the current 5.7-liter Hemi Charger. So you better watch out. Better get an SRT if you want to run away from these bad boys. So for engines, this is the base model. It's a 2.3-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged EcoBoost engine developing 300 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. Or you can upgrade to the 3-liter V6 that develops 365 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque. If you are really crazy, you can get the twin-turbo ST that develops 400 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque. Also, this is going to be the first Explorer with a hybrid engine if you want to save the polar bears. Then it also adds a little bit of power to the base engine. And finally, all of them come with a 10-speed automatic. It was co-developed by Ford and Chevy, and Casper will be talking about that transmission later on in this video. Anyways, the XLT, the biggest difference between this and the previous one, as I said before, is that it's rear-wheel drive, and that also translates to how much it can tow, because it can tow a lot more than the previous base model, with a capacity of 5,300 pounds with the optional towing package. So the car isn't the prettiest SUV on the market, but it has some pretty cool features. Obviously, the XLT doesn't come with many as standard, but this one has been kitted with some cool options just to give it a little bit of more flair. So you have the beautiful grille on the front, you get LED lights as standard, the high beams are halogen. You also get the fog lights. Now the fog lights do not come with the XLT version, you have to get an option for that. This particular car has optional 20-inch wheels, the car comes with 18s as standard. You also get LED tail lights, as well as some chrome features here and there. And then finally, this car comes with the optional automatic boot opener, which will open for you instead of you having to physically lift it on your own. And speaking about the interior, I think this time we're gonna start from the back, because that's what I think most people are interested in a 3-row SUV. So the biggest selling point of this car is that it has 3 rows. And usually in this segment, you don't have that much space in the back. You can only really consider children. But this car actually can fit adults, which I'm going to prove to you right now. So first of all, we need to pull the seat back and get inside. So upon entry, you do have these plastic covers. So if your kids have muddy shoes, they're not gonna get it all over your nice carpet inside. So let me demonstrate how easy it is to get in. And in the back, honestly, it's not too shabby. I mean, we can both fit here. Say hello to our director of photography. We both have cup holders on each side, a little light here on the top, as well as air vents for the air conditioning. So it's actually not bad to sit here for an hour or maximum 2 if you're an adult, but perfect for children. Speaking about adults, you would probably want to sit in these seats. So let's check them out after I get out of here, because getting in is quite easy, but getting out is quite undignified, and the child lock is on, so I need help.
That's smart.
All right.
It's like an elephant giving birth.
So obviously the second row is going to be more comfortable. And in the Explorer, you also get reclining seats as well as sliding seats. So you can pretty much get into a comfortable position for the longer hauls. On top of that, you do have your AC vents. You also got little hooks here, as well as USB ports and a 12-volt socket. Now, if you're not hauling your family or children, you can fold all the seats down to fit in bigger items. And it's quite simple, actually. Just pull this latch. And the second one. That's a lot of space. And the comfort continues at the front. I mean, you do have these non-supportive seats that you would expect in a car that isn't very sporty itself, but it's quite comfortable and it's very spacious. As well as this car being the 4-wheel drive version, it gets this swivel down here which you can control your drive modes. Now the car is set automatically to normal mode, and on top of that you have a sport mode which changes the characteristics of the throttle response as well as the gearbox. Then you have eco mode, which is pretty much the opposite, and then tow haul mode, so the car understands that it has to downshift a little bit earlier when going down hills. And then you do have your off-road modes, which consist of slippery, trail, as well as deep snow and sand. So the 2020 Explorer comes with a lot of safety kit as standard, and you can control all of that from Sync 3 system on this 8-inch display that also comes as standard even in the XLT. And underneath the screen you have a spot for your phone, which I like very much. And furthermore, you have your physical buttons for the sound system. It's actually a pretty good sound system. I'd say it's just okay. And below that you have your climate control buttons. So below the AC controls you do have a quite large cubby hole, and inside you have a USB-A and USB-C outlet just like in the back, as well as this car comes with this smoking package, so if you're a smoker you can get that as well. And underneath the armrest you have another large storage space. Comes with a coin holder as well as another 12-volt outlet, so you literally do have a lot of place to put your stuff. Other things that you wouldn't expect in the new Explorer are paddle shifters. Yes, this car comes with paddle shifters, which I don't think most of the buyers would want, but then again, I'm not complaining. Speaking of the steering wheel, I kind of like it. It's not too thick, it's not too thin, it's nicely padded and feels good in your hands. On the left side of the steering wheel, you have your cruise control buttons as well as your volume buttons, and on the right side, you have your menu buttons for the gauge cluster, as well as you have the command button to tell the car what you would like it to do. So you can also control the gauge cluster from the steering wheel by scrolling up and down. You can see your basic features that you have in most cars, which is your fuel economy, as well as in the 4-wheel drive version, you can see where the power is going to. You can literally on the fly see if you're sending more power to the back wheels or to the front wheels. You can also scroll through your media and see what song you're listening to, and if you're listening to the radio, what station. And on top of that, it has a quirky feature which is called Calm Screen and displays nothing. So if you don't want any funny business distracting you, you can drive with this calm screen on. And that was the interior of the 2020 Ford Explorer, and now I hand you over to Casper Tulling, who will tell you how it drives.
I do like an SUV. I like the idea of being able to use the practicality aspect of it, where I can just throw all the stuff in the back and just go on about my day. And when it comes to this car, I mean, they've created a huge amount of space. I mean, I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but it feels like there's echo in this car. It is that big, and I like that because they've optimized the space and given it a lot of cubby holes, a lot of storage compartments, and so on. Previous generations Explorers had this big heavy dashboard with these big heavy door cards with this big heavy center console and made the car feel small, which is odd because it's exactly the same size as this car, but they've just managed to really do a good job in making it as big as it should be. Now granted, going back to the dashboard layout, I like that the XLT does not have the big iPad looking infotainment screen as other models. I just think it looks too much like an afterthought. This kind of feels and looks like it's been thought out, although it could be a little bit bigger. Now, when it comes to performance of this car, there is some. It is powered by the 2.3 liter inline-4 EcoBoost engine, mounted to a 10-speed automatic gearbox. However, first thing that I noticed when driving this car is it feels and sounds like you're pushing this car to a limit it does not want to be. Now granted, because of the 10-speed, you'll never really hit maximum revs, but it just feels like you're putting a lot of pressure on this engine to work, and it sort of screams for help. Now, you can change that by altering the driving mode. So you can go to slippery, which is for wet water conditions, I imagine. You can go to normal, which is what I'm in right now. You can go to eco, or you can go to sport, which also adjusts the gearbox a little bit. It does give you more play, but it also just creates a lot more noise, because the moment I go on a straight piece of road and I put my foot down a little, it just doesn't sound good. I don't want that. Nope. I'm gonna go back to normal mode because that's where this car belongs. Now, once the car has retained its composure and gone back to, I think, the 9th gear that it has, overall, it's a very comfortable car to drive. I've driven it now for a while, and it is very good to drive on highway conditions. It's very planted, feels very stable, and doesn't really lack confidence. Previous ones, the moment you do a kick down of some sort, you feel like you're dragging the big lump of car up behind it. Don't really get that feeling in this car. Actually feels pretty good. Now, when it comes to visibility, this car is very good. I mean, they've got the A-pillars pushed all the way to the sides, and they're not very bulky. So you get a huge broad vision spectrum of whatever there is in front of you. And if that's not enough, you can always rely on the safety equipment this car has to offer, because this car, especially as the entry-level version, comes with every single safety feature that is available on this car. So you've got things like adaptive cruise control, you've got your lane alert, you've got pre-collision assist, you've got your rear view cameras, you've got pretty much every single tool to keep you on the road. As an example, I am on a highway. In theory, I could take my hands off the wheel and the car is turning by itself. Now granted, you should never take your hands off the steering wheel, never rely on technology to take you places, but for an entry-level model, that's a pretty good feature, and that's a pretty cool thing to have. Now, I can go on about how big this car is, but what you will not hear is whether or not it's very, very good. I mean, granted, I do believe other models are better. I think the ST variant of the Explorer is an incredibly good-looking car. I think the premium version is a very, very nice, well-equipped car. The XLT is a good car for what it is, but unfortunately, we live in a region where people like gadgets, people like gizmos, people like stuff to be and come with their car. This car comes as a rear-wheel drive variant. Now, granted, that's better than its front-wheel drive predecessor, but there are a lot of cars of this price range that come with four-wheel drive. There's a lot of cars that come with a little bit more tech and a little bit more luxury, which is where this car lacks. This car feels very, very simple. I mean, granted, it's the perfect tool for what you want it to do. Carry a lot of stuff, carry a lot of people, and go on your day. But there are a lot of other companies that can probably do it better. Now, I do believe the Explorer has got hope, because they are bringing in different variants. And I think the 4-wheel drive version is the one I would go for, especially with the 6-cylinder. The EcoBoost is a very good alternative for economy driving, but is it the one I would go for? Personally, I won't. What I do like about this car is that they've sort of kept to the strong heritage of what the Explorer should be. User-friendly, usable, very spacious, and good to drive. And it ticks all those boxes. I just wish it had the chance to tick a few more.
And that was our review of the 2020 Ford Explorer. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. It really helps out the channel. As well as don't forget to comment down below what you think of this car. Would you want to buy one? Would you not want to buy one? We really want to know. And finally, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss any future episodes. I'm gonna take this baby out for a drive. That's it from us. Take care.